Hey everyone, welcome to the latest installment of MSP Business School. As always, I'm Brian Doyle, and I'm here with good old Tim McNeil and Rob Rogers. It's good to see you guys again.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to
Tim,
see
you're
you.
looking
Up in
you're
New York?
looking a lot better. You're starting to smile again.
No.
You were pretty banged up there for a while, so I'm glad to see you on the mend.
Yeah, it was a solid 6 or 8 weeks there. It was not enjoyable.
It is
Kids
crazy.
kids
These
just bring home everything.
these viruses this year have been really tough. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have been dealing with
Yeah.
it as well. I got a cough I've pretty much had since IT Nation, and I think it's just part of me now.
Mm.
But in any event, Rob, how are you doing over there, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to talking to the man, the myth, the legend here. We've
Yeah,
got
here we go.
the Jake Carroll. Like anytime
Yeah.
you talk about him, you have to put the in front of it. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward
you
to
know,
hearing some.
The Ohio State. It's
what I love
That's
about this, what I love about our podcast now is anytime we really need something good to talk about, we pull poor Jake in, right? He comes in
Right.
on a
He's like
moment's
Mikey.
notice and
Yeah, right.
flies
That's
in
right.
with some great content and then flies out, often
That's
looking back with a certain finger
right.
salute going on.
Yeah, that's code for our guest canceled just before the podcast recording. What are you doing right now? So happy to be here again.
Yeah.
that's
Nah,
not
but Jake, it's always a good time when you come on, though, man. I'm looking forward to the next time you and I get together live.
yeah.
As am
But
I.
today I think you're here to talk to us about what you're best at, man. A little bit of storytelling and a little bit of prospecting guidance.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the storytelling concept, so I'm excited to hear what you got to share with us today.
Yeah, and it's not like the topic just comes out of thin air, right? As everybody tries to prepare for 2024, everybody's working on their sales plans, trying to understand, who their ideal customers are, who they're going to pursue, how many calls do they need to be on to get to their revenue. We all know that like reaching out to customers now and getting someone's attention is harder than ever, right? Most of us don't answer a phone call from a number we don't recognize. It's very rare that we even read an email that's from someone that we don't know or a cause that we're not involved in. So the constant challenge that our salespeople face, that we're as sales managers and leaders try to instill in them, is you got to make your at bats count, right? And fundamentally that means you have to be relevant with your prospects. Like you guys all know, when you get a scripted cold call coming across,
Mhm.
it's not something that really gains your attention right away, or you even get cold outreach from someone that just doesn't resonate with you because it doesn't matter to you, right? So framing those things around stories that are relevant to your prospects is super important.
Every day I wake up to a long laundry list of different people who are from sales outreach and cold marketing companies, basically sending me the exact same message, no
Yeah.
pizzazz to it, nothing.
Great.
And it's like, my God, you're trying to sell me right here on how to sell my company, and you can't even sell yourself, man.
It's a challenge, right? And I think any of us who have been through sales training, we all sit around and everybody says, you know what, the best salespeople are storytellers. Like, okay. But generally speaking, they don't always provide a framework for doing that, right? And that can be anything from how you present a feature, advantage, benefit of your service based on a problem that you've heard from a prospect that you've helped someone else do before, where you've got to make sure, like, look, is the person that I'm talking to now going to understand the use case that I have in mind for them?
Yeah.
And that always comes from, how well do you know your customers? How well do you know your solution and the problems that you've solved? And then crafting that around something that's, meaningful, empathetic, and resonates with the company that you're talking to. So you got to know the industry, right? And then you also have to know the person that you're speaking to and the challenges that they face. There's a couple of advantages here in the managed services business. And if we take, 90% of the organizations out there right now, they're still principal led in their selling, right? The owners of the business are selling.
Yeah.
So that does put them in a bit of an advantage to tell those stories, because a couple of things are happening, right? You're solving a problem for another local business leader who's probably running a very similar business to yours, right? If you take out the tech, right, and you go to a doctor's office, a dentist's office, an engineering firm, a light manufacturer, whatever it happens to be, if you took the products out of both of those businesses, yours and theirs, the problems are the same, right? The problems are with hiring and retaining staff. It's getting people up and running quickly so that they can deliver good service to your customers. It's making sure the billing goes out on time. It's making sure your customers are happy, your employees are happy, the revenue's in the right place, the profit's being generated, and the problems that are in that business to prevent those things from happening, which are all good things you want to have happen, are universal. So the owner can tell that story with empathy and with understanding. And what you need to do is just put a framework in place so it resonates. So you're not just going in there talking about technology,
Yeah.
right?
So
the
what is this
additional
framework that you came up with?
So I didn't come up. First things
come on.
first. I never
Come
make
on,
up anything
man.
on my own.
Come on.
I know.
Chucky is so
I have-
modest. You
no.
created
Don't
it,
tell
you
anybody.
trademarked it, and it's all yours.
I
That's right.
stole it. I'm just going to tell you right now that I
Jake Carroll TM.
stole it from somebody else.
Trademarked.
I stole it from somebody who stole it from somebody else.
That's
how,
right.
That's how, right. That's
Nobody's
really what
had
it
an
comes down
original
to.
thought in years, right?
It's one of those things where, like, as sales, look, we're sales managers, we're executives, we're trainers, and we're always looking for ways to, like, how do I get a concept across to someone that resonates with them, that they could go repeat, and that they could do on their own if I wasn't in the room. And ultimately, like, that's the same thing they're going to have to do with their prospect. How do I get this prospect to understand that the things that I bring to the table for their business? I understand the problems that they're currently having, even if they don't realize it yet. So I need to be able to articulate that in a way that goes, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. And the only way you can do that is you got to do that in a framework that makes sense to them. So it's got to be about them. So the framework that I had read about, and just like, it just kind of clicked, because I was just, it's one of those things where, like, I'm trying to train somebody on it, and you read something that's relevant to what you're trying to train something on. So it was one of those things where, like, it's the who, like, who are you selling to? What do they want to do? What's getting in their way, right? And then how can you help them? And the framework that this very simple framework was who, what's their want, but, and so, right? So
All right, wait. Do that again.
say
Who?
what do they want? Use the word but, because that gets in their way of solving a problem, right? And then the so piece. And then you can even extend it. You can say so, then, but again, all that. You can kind of stack these things up.
Yeah,
And
nice.
so before it gets, like, way too complicated, here's a really simple one. Most small businesses who want technology to be the asset to drive business, but, right, in our business, they mostly lack the resource, the capacity, and the expertise to pull it off, right? So they look to IT service providers like us to fill in the gaps, right? Simple story framework, right? And you can do that for anything like, pick something like, I don't know, cybersecurity insurance, right? One of the things about small businesses is they're getting that shoved down their throat now. They better have it, right? So most, right, small business owners, again, want their cybersecurity insurance to cover them in the event that they're attacked. But, right, ensuring that all the controls are in place for that policy to be valid is really hard, right? So they need managed service providers and cybersecurity experts to make sure that all the controls are in place. And as managed service providers, we know the controls that are required to have your cybersecurity insurance stick. So that's just the framework for telling the story is who is it, what do they want, what's getting in their way, and how do you solve it? And you can do that over and over and over again for a bazillion different use cases.
It's funny when you talk about that, how there are some different variants across the board of that storytelling motif. I was Sandler trained, right? And it was all about when you approach the customer, not hitting them with what the battle hymn of the Republic, they called it, what you do and what the company's doing, but more, hey, I work with customers that need reliable backups and making sure that they've got availability of all their data. I also work with companies that are looking to communicate more freely and make sure that they've got security and safeguards to do so. And, another set of customers I work with are the types of folks that, need to get cyber insurance and need some guidance to make sure that they've got the controls in place. Any of those resonate with you, right? And it's this concept of not putting that feature benefit, but really talking about, hey, here's the people I help, right? So not that follows the framework of the story that you've got here, but it's another way that, these sales methodologies that have been out there for years are really trying to get you to kind of open a conversation and a dialogue with the customer to draw them in.
Well,
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, that's the death of most salespeople, right? They ask close-ended questions. They don't open it up. They ask too many questions that are yes, no. Right? There's no elaborance by the prospect in any way, shape, or form. And that's something that we've seen I mean, forever. And then any salesperson is guilty of that from time to time. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just everything that Brian, you're talking about with Sandler, everything Jake, you're talking about. It's just a way to continue the conversation and have them talk. Just, it's all about having them talk.
Yeah. I think you said a big word there, which was conversation. Like we tend to, when we're trained as salespeople, we're often just trained in the technique of discovery or qualification. And let's be fair, like the way that we were trained was all benefit to us, right? I need this information. I need to know who's the money authority need. I gotta figure out all that stuff, and I gotta go interrogate my client. And which, if you think about this for a second, if you're in a highly competitive market and someone's actually looking for a solution, and they've got 4 salespeople back to back to back coming in and asking them 10 questions each, that business owner is exhausted by the end of it. Doesn't remember anybody, and it does feel like an interrogation. And if you can come in with a fresh perspective, which was more, observation, right? And you can demonstrate and that their business, that you understand the business of their business, like how they make money, what their workflows look like, the problems that you solved before, that it's a lot different conversation than telling me, can you tell me what your strategic initiatives are for this year? Because then I'm sure I could wrap my solution around it and solve it for you. It's like, okay, next. Right.
Oh, Jake, I'm smiling so hard right now because you just brought me back to the old days, man. I remember having some of those meetings where we would bring the vendor in, we'd invite an HP to come talk to one of our key clients, and we would get this posse of people from different departments who weren't related to one another, who most of the time were introducing themselves to the other HP employees before those meetings. And everybody just came in with their own agenda to our poor customer, pelting them with questions, man. Those days are finally, I think, starting to wane off, mostly because nobody wants to pay to fly everybody around anymore. But it used to be so bad. Now, I want to throw something at you from a storytelling thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Seinfeld method, right? And this is something that was very common for a long time with the emails that you received, where people would just kind of send mindless emails about nothing on the daily, but talking about something. The old, hey, I was talking to, one of my, I was talking to Jake today, and Jake told me that he was having a problem getting cyber insurance because he really didn't know if his controls, connected. And, I said to Jake, well, what policies do you have in place? And he just kind of looked at me and said, policies? He had no clue about what policies were. So, I told him, hey, let's get together for a half an hour and talk about it. And in doing that, I said, hey, why do it alone, Jake? Let's make this a group thing and open it up to our friends in the community. And there was a bunch of emails that went that way. But I hate to say it. Anytime I saw one of those, I clicked on it. I wanted to see what the catch was at the end.
Yeah.
But, I would read some of it, and generally I'd find myself shaking my head. Have you taken that approach lately? And are you seeing new ways, because the email blasts are definitely becoming more difficult, where we can potentially incorporate that into other, communication streams we got?
Yeah, I think it's the same on email now as it is on cold calls, right? Observational selling, trying to get someone's attention is really important. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be empathetic. You got to hit hard. You got to skip the niceties sometimes. How are you doing it? Just like all that, just circling back, just following up. All that stuff's got to get all the niceties. Hi, I hope you're having a great day today. No, you're not. You don't know who I am. You don't know what kind of day I'm having. Don't ask me. Just get that stuff out of here. The thing now is, like, if you can't write an email in like 50 to 75 words, you're going to lose them. Right. And there's a bunch. And if you're not, a couple things. First of all, for email writing, there are so many good tools out there right now for email writing.
What's your favorite?
You should use. I love Lavender. I pay a subscription for it. It's sales based. It's concise. It'll optimize your email for mobile devices so business owners can see your full email with bullets on a single screen on your phone. It'll have, you can use very specific calls to action. And the average reader reads 150 to 300 words a minute or whatever it is. You've got an average of 10 seconds before somebody like closes your email. So you got 40 words, 50 words to kind of get somebody to pay attention.
And that's an add-on inside of Outlook?
You can do it inside of Outlook. It's a browser add-on that I use. Yeah. And it checks for, the level that you're written it at, the punctuation. Make sure you're focusing on them and not you. So take out your I's and we's and put in more U's, like that kind of stuff. It tracks all those things in there. It's a very good software tool. And the other thing is, like, if you don't want to pay a license for that, ChatGPT and all the AI tools that are out there. It's like, write me an email for such and such for a law firm that's trying to do X, Y, and Z. It'll write it for you,
Yeah.
right? And then if nothing else, it takes the thought process of trying to create a unique and interesting email off your plate for a while. Well, now you can edit it, you can shrink it, you can cater it just a little bit, and then go. And then, to me, those are the places to use AI that takes hours and hours off your day and week when you're trying to prepare those things. I'm writing an email and I'll spend 5 minutes trying to think of like the right CTA at the end of it. What am I doing? It's like, you can get the 43 best calls to action as proven by Gong is available for everybody who wants to read their blog post. And just go do it because it's really great stuff. Data proven too.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
that's my thing on email. Shorter is better.
It is. It's got to be short and sweet. You write a big tome, nobody's reading it, right? It get to the point, get to the why. But I do love storytelling, and I think maybe to transition a little bit. We've talked about email as a little bit tougher channel these days, but there are some tactics you can take there. Certainly, cold calling, the biggest challenge there is just getting somebody on the other side of the line, right? If you do get them there, then the standard numbers still exist.
Yeah.
Obviously, social is becoming the playground, right? But I think in social, I think storytelling could be used in a different manner, right? It's more about how do you become that attractive figure that people know, like, and trust, right? And that's a big part of the concept of getting to sell. So, it's about doing more of that, sharing and caring in that process and telling those stories as part of your social makeup with no ask, right? Because then people engage and they ultimately find their way to you.
Right.
I'm sure, like me, everybody's tired of when somebody connects with you, immediately getting that automated message that says, "Hey, here's how I can help you." And you're just like, and it's coming, but yet you still might connect with the person because there was something interesting about them.
Yeah.
The approach I'm seeing the most successful social sellers doing is really just talking about things. It goes back to that Seinfeld script, right? Of just talking about whatever's going on in their day and something like that, and they come off as genuine, and it goes from there. You got any tips there, Jake? Is that something you're implementing into your process?
Yeah, I think you have to social sell, right? So I think Rob and Tim are big proponents of this, where it's a omni-channel, multi-channel, whatever you talk to it about. But you're gonna if you're on LinkedIn long enough, you're gonna hear cold calling is dead, cold emailing is dead, social's dead, networking's dead, in person's dead, everything's dead. Well, you know what? It ain't all dead. It all works. And
Because we all seem to be selling something.
And some days it all fails, right?
Yeah.
But the combination of it's all familiarity, right? If you think about what a seller is trying to do, so think about the transition from founder-led sales and principal-led sales to hiring a new salesperson that's going to go out and sell for you, right? Mostly principal-led sales get the business to a really good level, but it's mostly on referral, friends, family, networking, talking to people who have known problems with a solution that is near and dear to your heart and you can talk about. And then when you go out and you try to do this net new, it's a hump, right? You're talking to someone who doesn't know they have a problem, that doesn't know who you are. So getting that familiarity of you to them through multiple channels is really important. So if you combine social media outreach and then the multiple touches you can get before you ask anybody for anything. If I know who my ideal customer is and I'm intentional about, and what we do is our ideal 250, right? Who we train this into the managed service providers that we work with. Like, who are the 250 companies in your area you want to do business with that you're not right now? Right? Just do that. And then when you go on LinkedIn, find them. Who are the owners of those businesses? You can follow them. You can like posts before you even ask for a connection request. So if you've called into the business and you've emailed into the business, and if you've liked the post and if you've followed a person, you guys all have your corporate LinkedIn pages. What's it like when you get 10 followers in a day added to the heap? It's like, you look who it was? Yeah, you look who it was. You look who it was. So imagine a small business in your area that's now just starting to increase their LinkedIn presence, and you come up as following their page and liking a post, or maybe commenting on it. If you your name is going to get known, right? After a while, that person's going to pick up the phone and go, "That name sounds familiar. Oh yeah, that's the person who followed my post and liked whatever." So combining all of these things is super important. And again, it gets back to knowing your customer and knowing the problems that they're having and just making yourself more relevant. I dare say human,
I love that, because that there's such a fact to it. I used to always tell my sales reps, it's not about them knowing who you are or who we are. It's them knowing enough to go, "Oh yeah, I think I heard of you. That's a door opener right there, as opposed to I've never heard of you before. So, it's all those little tactics that you spoke of just to get to that point where they go, oh yeah, I think I heard of you guys. Now we can get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true.
And I'd also like to say, Jake, I'm proud of you because you beat Rob in 2024 to saying MSP Magic 250.
Yeah.
First of the year? So I got to.
And it's the first reference to it this year, and it didn't come from Rob.
Yeah.
You must be intentional about who you want to sell to, or you'll just get the customers that you don't want.
No, that's all. And there's so much truth to it, right? I mean, you hear it all the time. If you don't put together your list of people you want to target, you're targeting nobody.
Yeah, that's fair.
True.
Any more cliches we can throw in here today while we're at it?
Oh, we can go all
I
day
got the
long.
first
Like,
one.
if we want to start putting cliche basket, we could put another 20 minutes just talking in cliche, in jargon, in buzzword bingo, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
hey,
well-
fellas, that about kind of sums it up for us on this episode. Jake, I want to thank you again for showing up in a pinch. It's always a pleasure to hear, from the beautiful mind of Jake Carroll. I'm surprised you don't have like a bunch of string in the background from your different prospecting ideas.
We didn't. I mean, it was perfect.
I have a lot of prospecting ideas now to do it.
Well, you're pretty good at that as well, I would say. So really appreciate you being on here today. Jake, one more time for the cheap seats. What are the 4 phases of your structure there for your storytelling structure?
The storytelling framework is it is who, what do they want, but why can't they get there, and so it's who, the want, the but, and the so.
I love it. I love it. All right, fellas. Well, that's it for us today. I appreciate your time. Have a great week.
See you
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you very much. Yeah, see you later.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming
It's
on.
fun, buddy. Take care.
Oh,
Oh.
he just jumped on.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, he just said fuck it.